The video gonna be about the best baseball teams in the '90s that didn't win the World Series, because got me thinking about some interesting situations and some teams that I'm gonna think about that didn't win in the '90s. Now, Oakland won in the late '80s, but considering the Bash Brothers with McGwire and Canseco with Dave Stewart, Dennis Eckersley, and Tony La Russa as the manager, you thought that was a dynasty. They won in that earthquake '89 against the Giants. Remember, they lost to the Dodgers and they didn't even Kirk Gibson and to the Reds '90s. So it didn't quite as great as they were. That was interesting. Then I got to thinking about the Baltimore Orioles in the '90s. Of course, everyone's gonna remember that homer that Junior hit that kid snatched, and some people make a deal about the right field porch at Yankee Stadium. So will that have changed the Orioles' fortunes? I don't know. Will Cal Ripken have had more rings because he had his one from '83? But they were a very talented team. Cleveland is one of the teams that comes to mind with Albert Bell, Manny Ramirez. They had an incredible squad. I know some people who still hold a grudge against Jose Mesa. They looked like they were going to win. They had Dave Justice, Kenny Lofton. They had a lot of talent, a lot of stack. Didn't happen. Seattle Mariners. Now, if you lived in the Pacific Northwest and you knew all about Randy Johnson, Edgar Martinez, King Griffey Jr., Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, Jay Buhner, Tino Martinez before he went to the Yankees, you had a stacked squad, and Lou Piniella was the manager. See, baseball is a funny animal. It's unlike other sports. You can be stacked and you just don't get to the finish line. It's very unfair. San Francisco Giants. Barry Bonds was balling like crazy. I still remember when he first came to the Giants, um, and that when Fred McGriff came to Atlanta, and that was before they had the wild cards and everything that you got now. You imagine a 100-win team couldn't even make the playoffs. That's how crazy it was at that time, '93. Crazy. Couldn't imagine that today. The competition was steep. That's just crazy. The Giants, because I think about some teams that just didn't hit that you thought might have hit. You know, um, you thought they would have had more success. Because of the talent they had. It's kind of like what you thought with the Pirates when they had Bonds, Bybony, and Andy Van Slyke with Jim Leyland as the manager. Leyland went on to win the World Series with Florida years later. They got inducted recently to the Pittsburgh Pirates Hall of Fame. Bonds, Leyland, and Manny Seguia. But you just think, it's a lot of interesting teams that just didn't seal the deal that had some talent. You can make a case for the Red Sox too, with Pedro Martinez. They were very dominant for a particular time. This just didn't win in the '90s. And it's, because in the '90s, Atlanta was dominant. The Yankees were dominant. The Yankees won 4 chips. Atlanta won 1. Minnesota won 1. Toronto won 2. It's interesting when you break down the teams that were successful, and got to mention the Marlins too. You just got to think about it. There was some San Diego Padres didn't win. Tony Gwynn was balling back then. So it's an interesting topic about some of the best baseball teams that did not win in the '90s, and again, just kind of like throwing out there what I remember, because it was a very interesting time period to say the least. And this was before the wild cards and everything. They changed the game drastically. Would have been interesting how some of those teams may have fared if the rules were then what are now. Please like, subscribe, work on thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another shitter if you like my piece.